Oh, this is Jonathan Mansky, your cerebral sanitation engineer. And for the holidays this year, rather than sending cards, which nobody would be able to read my handwriting anyway, I thought I'd give my friends and my clients something useful. So here it is, how to do personal growth work. So I see this all the time. People know, hey, in order to grow my business, in order to get more of what I want in life, I need to do some personal growth work. And they know they're supposed to do it, but so often they don't really feel comfortable with how do I do that, or they don't have the first clue of how do I do that, or they've got something that gets in their way of doing that. And so then they're on the insanity track, right? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. No, it's not going to change. So first of all, hang on, I'm getting ahead of myself. So this is the how to do personal growth work. This is going to be then the intro to another video I've already created called How to Transform Your Limiting Beliefs, that shares about 2 hours worth of consciousness upgrading tools and techniques and strategies. But this is how you put that all into play. So personal growth work, why is it necessary? It's necessary because our thoughts and our beliefs and our vision of ourself creates our experience of our life. And so often people aren't getting what they want, or aren't performing at the level they know they could be, should be, want to be. They want to do better, and they're trying to do better, but they're not. They're stuck, they're frustrated. That's where personal growth comes in, because when we change our thoughts, we change our lives. When we change our vision of ourselves, we change our lives. When we change our beliefs about ourselves, we change our lives. And that's why personal growth is necessary. Now, so this is the Christmas present part. Now let's put on the hard hat, because we're going to be talking about doing work here. Because personal growth is work. Now, first of all, let's get over the thing of, oh, I don't want to work, because life is work, right? Because it's hard work to be stuck and to be frustrated. It's hard work to be disappointed in yourself. It's hard work to struggle to pay the mortgage every month, or all those sort of things. Those are hard work too. There's just no benefit to that kind of hard work. So yes, personal growth is hard work, and there's a benefit to it, right? So why is personal growth hard work? Because we're creatures of habit, and we're on autopilot most of the time. And now we're going to look at changing some of these habits. It's also hard work because of our comfort zone. Personal growth means getting outside of your comfort zone, doing stuff that you aren't used to doing, that seems awkward and unfamiliar. And personal growth work often involves going down into the shadows, where we've stuffed limiting beliefs and shame and fear and anger and all these negative things because they're unpleasant and we don't want to deal with them, but they're still in us, messing with us. And so personal growth work is going into those shadows and letting that stuff go. But there's a reason we stuff that stuff in the shadows in the first place, because it's uncomfortable. So personal growth work is uncomfortable. But it's uncomfortable, again, towards the greater end, versus struggling to pay your bills is uncomfortable. And that's just a perpetuating thing that never gets any better, right? So yes, it's going to be uncomfortable. And it takes willingness to change your stories, willingness to let go. And then at its very deepest level, personal growth is just getting better at loving, accepting, and approving of yourself exactly as you are. Loving, accepting, and approving of yourself exactly as you are. So even though it might not seem like we're talking about that, that's ultimately what we're talking about. All these things that we will talk about in the other video are tools and strategies that help us do a better job of that. Okay, I'm tired of the hard hat now. So it's work. Personal growth is work. And just like the gym, if I only go to the gym once a week, twice a week, I'm not going to change my strength. I'm not going to change my physical fitness, because I'm not going enough. I'm not doing the work. It's the same thing in the personal growth gym. And this is where people trip themselves up so often, is they don't go often enough. So they don't get the benefit. Or things are going well, so they stop going. Oh, I don't need to do that gratitude stuff. I don't need to do any personal growth stuff because life is already going well. Well, that makes about as much sense as saying, hey, I'm in really good shape, so I don't need to work out anymore. Right? Well, how long is really good shape going to last if I stop working out? Not very long. So you got to go to the gym. And my own experience, when I started going to the gym on a daily basis, it changed my life in so many ways. So that's the key, is the consistency of going to the personal growth gym. So what does going to the personal growth gym look like? There's really two main parts of it. The first part is awareness or noticing, right? We have to notice that, wow, this is a lousy thought I'm thinking, or I'm feeling lousy, or I'm giving my energy to what I do not want instead of what I do want, or I've got a limiting belief here. Finding customers is hard, something like that, right? So you notice it, but then what happens oftentimes is people stop after they notice. They go, well, I noticed. Okay, good. Noticing is great. And then we need to go to our toolbox and upgrade that limiting belief, because otherwise that limiting belief is still there. And as long as I have a limiting belief like finding new customers is hard, my business is going to struggle, because that's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's going to be my truth. And now I'm doing the insanity thing, hoping I have this breakthrough, which is impossible when I have this limiting belief that finding new customers is hard. So I have to go to the toolbox to upgrade that limiting belief. Now, we're not going to go into the tools on this video because I've already got that other video, how to transform your limiting beliefs. And a way to think about that is that video, that's all the workout equipment in the gym, right? So you go to a regular gym and there's weights and treadmills and ellipticals and exercise bikes and all that sort of stuff, right? And then you create a workout around it. So in the personal growth gym, you've got the Sedona method, what ifs, why not me, tapping, SMRT, walking belief change, fact suggestion, and on, all these different tools. And then you create your workout around those, but using the tools. So it's notice, upgrade, repeat. Notice, upgrade, repeat. Notice, upgrade, repeat. Notice, upgrade, repeat. And people, I already said this, but people a lot of times notice and then stop. No, now you got to go to your toolbox and do the upgrade. Now, people don't do the upgrade because they're not comfortable using these tools, or they don't know how, or they've got a story. Like people like me don't do that sort of thing. That's where we got to get outside of our comfort zone and just do it anyway. Yeah, it's going to be awkward or unfamiliar probably because you're not used to doing it. So then it's simply a question, a matter of, are you worth it? Is your life important enough to you to get uncomfortable for? Is your life important enough to you to get out of your comfort zone for, to do something that's unfamiliar? Because so often we're doing the insanity thing, right? Results can't change when we have limiting beliefs. It doesn't matter how much effort we're putting in. It doesn't matter how many people we're talking to. I talked to a client the other day, and she is having trouble finding people to join her business. And the belief in her head was, well, I'm not ready to have a team yet. So she can talk to 1 million people. And if that belief in her head that I'm not ready yet is still there, she won't grow a team. Now she's aware of it, but now she has to go to the gym and use those tools to upgrade that belief to get to this place of, I am ready to grow a team. And then be in action and do the stuff. But when we change the beliefs, those actions will bear different fruits. They will produce different results. Okay, so notice, then upgrade. So how do you notice that you have head trash? How do you notice that you're in your own way? Well, real simply, life will tell you. Any area you're struggling, any area you're frustrated, any area you aren't getting the results that you want, there's a 100% chance you've got some head trash there that's in your way. And if you see patterns like, oh, people keep canceling appointments on me, or people say they're going to join my business and then they don't, or something that repeats, what's the common denominator there? It's me. So one of the best ways to uncover your head trash and your limiting beliefs is to ask yourself this question. Based on these results, what must I believe? And use this question. Ask yourself this question. Based on these results, what must I believe? And then sit there quietly for a minute and an answer will pop up. So in the last week, the lady I just said about having problems finding business builders for her team, I said, okay, based on these results, what must you believe? About 5 seconds later, she said, that I'm not ready to have a team. Boom. Limiting belief identified. Now we can go to the toolbox. I ask people that question all the time. Based on these results, what must I believe? And an answer pops up, and then you know what the head trash is, and then you can do something about it. So one more time, based on these results, what must I believe? It's a $1 million question. Another way is you can just say sentences out loud and notice how your body responds. And your response is gonna fall into one of two categories. It's either gonna feel true or not true. True or not true. So I say, I'm able to double my income. And then how does that feel? And if there's any constriction or tightening, or the words feel hollow, or my throat tightens up, a little voice in the back of my head says, yeah, when pigs fly, then I know I'm in my own way, that I've got a limiting belief there. And if I say I'm able to double my income and it feels strong and true, then I know that's not my head trash. But then I might say I deserve to double my income. Oh, that didn't feel true at all. Or it's safe to double my income. Or I know how to double my income, or whatever. And it's going to show my limiting beliefs by how my body feels. And we can very easily turn this into percentages, right? So I'm able to double my income. Oh, that feels like about a 7. Okay, 7 out of 10, that means 70% of me says yes, 30% of me has counter intent. That's better than 60-40, 50-50, 40-60, but it still means I've got 30% counter intent where I'm in my own way. So there's some room there to go to the toolbox and upgrade my consciousness. And then I say it's safe to double my income. And, oh, that felt like a 2. That means I'm massively in my own way, right? And start with safe, because safety and survival is the #1 human need. So if we have any story up here like it's not safe to be successful, it's not safe to sell, it's not safe to get what I want, you're gonna be sabotaging yourself left and right. Not on purpose, just because that's the way it works. So that's how you identify your limiting beliefs, your head trash. You look at your results. Your life will show you what your limiting beliefs are. And then you go to the toolbox. And sometimes you don't exactly hit it on the head. That's okay. You just identifying, gosh, I've got some weird feelings about money. That can be enough to go to the toolbox and do some letting go, right? So I can then tap those weird feelings I have about money, or Sedona method, feeling those weird feelings. Can I let them go? Yes. Will I let them go? Yes. When? Now. And I release some of it. And then I go back and I do some more. And speaking of releasing some of it, an important piece to understand about personal growth is it's not like sometimes you do this tool one time and it all breaks up. Awesome. A lot of times it's a lot more like a sculptor, right? So here the sculptor starts and he's got this just big square block of rock, right? And then he pulls out or him or her, pulls out the hammer and chisel, and it's tap, 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 and little bits fall away and little bits fall away. And over time, that work of art that's in there emerges. So every time we use a personal growth tool, that's us with our hammer and chisel, tapping away on the stuff that's hiding our inner magnificence, our inner beauty, our inner radiance, our inner potential. Tap, 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 and that beauty arises. So even though I've got a pretty deep story that I don't deserve to succeed, and so I do some what ifs or some tapping and I still there, that's okay, because I've let go of some of it. There's less, And then I got to just go back to the gym again tomorrow, right? A really good way to think about this also is if I'm 80 pounds overweight, except for liposuction, there's no way I lose 80 pounds today. It doesn't matter how determined or focused I am. If I want to slim down, this is a process over time. And every pound matters. Every pound is progress. Every pound is heading in the right direction. And so then when I'm only 70 pounds overweight, I have made progress. It's working. And then when I'm only 60 pounds overweight, it's working. I'm making progress, and so on and so on. Right? So it's not going to be, boom, I'm done with that story. Oh, my money story is gone forever. I will be confident forever. No, it's the bit by bit, piece by piece. And that's where it's so valuable, so useful to learn to see, acknowledge, and even celebrate your own progress. That, hey, I'm farther along than I used to be. I'm making progress. And that progress can look like less of something, right? That situation pushed my buttons and I got over it quicker than I used to. I stayed mad for only a day instead of a week. That's progress, right? And when we see that as a success, as a win, oh my gosh, I'm headed in the right direction. I'm doing better. Whew. Learning to see and celebrate progress is life-changing, and very few people are good at it. So chances are you aren't. And it's an area that's worth getting good at. See and celebrate your progress. See and celebrate your progress. So, all right, again, the process is number one, notice. And then number two, go to your toolbox. Now, people don't go to their toolbox because they've got stories like, I don't know how to use those tools, or that's just not what I do, or it's unfamiliar. Do it anyway, because if you don't, your life isn't going to change. Your results aren't going to change. So do it anyway. Just do it anyway. And reach out for outside accountability if you need to. Call a friend and go, gosh, I'm really stuck on this thing, and I've been thinking about doing some personal growth work on it for 10 days now and haven't. So I'm calling you to put myself out there, to hold myself accountable, right? So call me back in an hour and ask me if I've done my work. Whatever it takes to trap yourself into doing that work. But just do it. Get over your story. Whatever your story is, get over it. And as long as we're here, stories is another great way to talk about personal growth work. Because that's all any of us do all day long, is we tell ourselves stories. And our stories, either, I have a cough drop in my mouth in case you were wondering what that was all about. Our stories either contribute to us or bring us down. So if right now, say to yourself, I'm tired. Notice what happens to your energy. It goes down because you're telling yourself a lousy story. And then if I say that again, I'm tired. No, I don't even want to be doing this anymore. So now I change my story. I'm excited to be doing this. And my energy goes up. All right. So things like procrastination and avoidance and hesitation are perfectly natural responses to lousy stories. If I tell myself that something's going to be unpleasant, what would be more natural than to avoid that? So if making these phone calls is unpleasant, it's going to be natural to procrastinate. It's going to be natural to avoid. But we can always change our story. Always. So that's another way of talking about personal growth, is just simply paying attention to the stories that you're telling yourself, and catch yourself telling yourself crappy stories and stop it. Change your story, change your life. Finding clients is hard. Crappy story. What if finding clients can be easy and fun? What if I can do it? And here's the thing about stories. No matter what your story is, you'll find evidence to support it. Because that's what we do. We find evidence to support our stories. But I do this in workshops all the time. I'll tell people, okay, look around the room and find evidence of scarcity. So people look around the room and, they'll, whatever they notice, maybe there's a spot on the wall, or the wall needs painting, or maybe there's a torn chair, or who knows what, a stain on the carpet. They'll find evidence of scarcity. Then I say, okay, now look around the exact same room and find evidence that the universe is an abundant place. So they look around the exact same environment and they find evidence that the universe is an abundant place. So the evidence is irrelevant. The evidence doesn't prove anything. Whatever viewpoint you want to prove, there's evidence for it. So even though you have evidence that backs up your stories that growing your business is hard, or finding business builders is hard, or I'm not very confident, or on and on and on and on, who cares? Evidence can be manipulated. Not can be, evidence is always manipulated. There's also evidence for the opposite of that. I remember a couple of years ago, I was doing a session with a client, and she started the session with telling me how she had signed up a new team member that morning and how easy and fun it was. Then a little bit later on in the session, she was telling me her story about how hard it is to find people for her team. And she just really struggled. And so I said to her, oh, you mean like this morning? And she just kind of, oh yeah, I kind of forgot about that, right? Because she was right back in her old crappy story and had completely dismissed that inconvenient evidence because it didn't support her crappy story. This is what people do all the time. So personal growth is change your story. Watch for lousy stories, and you always have the ability to tell yourself a different story. So I'm not ready. Lousy story. I am ready. Much better story. I'm not a leader. Lousy story. I am a leader and I can learn to become a better leader. Much better story. This is hard. Lousy story. This is fun. Much better story. So this is the awareness and the noticing, and then doing something about it. Change your story. Tell yourself a different story. Now, one of the things that, let me say this a slightly different way. So in change and transformation, kind of the first hurdle we have to clear is it possible? And if it isn't possible, then that's the first place we have to work. And very often in people's thinking, they get resigned to this idea that it's not possible. Sure, other people can grow their businesses, but I can't. Sure, this will work for other people, but not for me. It isn't possible for me to change. It isn't possible for me to get what I want. And so if that's the case, then boom, that's the place you have to start working. What if it is possible? What if I can do this? Tapping, Sedona method, all the other tools on having it become possible. It is possible. It is possible. And there's something really important I wanted to say about that, and I completely forgot what it was, but it'll come back to me. So that's the first thing, is it's got to be possible. And if it's not, that's where you start working. And then you do some work on, it is possible for me to get what I want. It is possible for me to change. It is possible for me to achieve this goal. And then it doesn't feel true. That's okay. That just means there's more, back to the sculptor thing, there's just more chipping to do there. And all of these things, when we notice resistance, when we notice that things don't feel true, that's not bad news. It's good news. It's good news because we have just identified where we're sabotaging ourselves, where we're in our own way. And once you've identified it, you can do something about it. So when I say it's possible for me to grow my business, and I go, oh, that just doesn't feel true at all, that's okay. Because it doesn't have to stay that way. And the fact that I noticed it is amazing, because now I can go to my toolbox and upgrade my consciousness to where it does become possible. And that's, again, that's the first hurdle that we have to clear. And here's the thing I wanted to say before. So any area in your life, business, where you're stuck and frustrated, not getting the results you want, start with, it's possible. It's possible to grow my business. And rate that on that scale of 1 to 10, right? And if it's not a 9 or a 10, then you've got some head trash there to let go of. It's possible to get what I want. It's possible for me to build a team. It's possible for me to be good at sales. Oh, that didn't feel true. Boom, that's the place to start with the whole possible thing. It's possible to have a business like your role model, your idol. It's possible for me to have a business like that. Oh, no, it's not. Okay, boom, yes, it is. What if I can have a business like that? Can I let go of this? Will I let go of this? When? Now? All of that, right? And go to work. Go to that toolbox. Go to that toolbox. I can't say that often enough. Go to that toolbox. And that's where people sabotage themselves, because they don't go to the toolbox. Reading is a wonderful personal growth tool. And the best way to read is the best way to read. Use reading to show where you're in your own way, right? So you're reading that self-development book and they talk about something and they go, well, these world-class thinkers look at things this way. And I go, ooh, that's not the way I look at things. Now stop reading and go to your toolbox, right? Awareness, noticing, and then upgrade. Notice and go to the toolbox. Notice and go to the toolbox. So if you just, there is value in reading that stuff and go, okay, yeah, there's a different way of looking at things and all of that, but a much more effective way is put the book down and go to the toolbox. Put the book down when the book triggers something in you where you see your limiting thoughts, your limiting beliefs, your limiting perspective of yourself, and then go to the toolbox. Your book will be there when you come back to it. And if you only read half a page and then go to the toolbox, who cares, right? That's way better than reading 20 pages and not going to the toolbox. Go to your toolbox. So hopefully that clarifies the process of what does it mean to do personal growth work, right? Personal growth work is to identify the stuff up here, the thoughts, the beliefs, the perspectives about ourselves and about our lives that aren't congruent with what we do want, that aren't congruent with the life of our dreams, and then doing something to change those, doing something to upgrade those. And doing this on a regular basis. So I mentioned this earlier, when I started going to the personal growth gym daily, my life changed tremendously, right? So I just want to elaborate on that story for a minute. A little over 3 years ago, I had a real get honest moment with myself. And I looked at my life and I said, you know what? My life isn't working and nothing's changing. And I'm totally deluding myself that I'm on the edge and things are about to change and I'm about to break through, when the truth is nothing was changing. I wasn't any happier. My business wasn't any more successful. My marriage wasn't any stronger. My amount of money in the bank wasn't any larger than it had been in years. I was just treading water while pretending I was changing. And this word boot camp popped into my head. And I said, I need to put myself in a boot camp. And what that meant to me was to make myself a priority and to spend an hour a day in the toolbox, because I wasn't doing the kind of work with myself that I was telling my clients to do to change their own lives. I wasn't walking my talk. And so I started doing that. I started spending an hour a day, and it doesn't have to be a solid hour at a time. I mean, there's a lot of tools you can use driving or when you're at the gym working on a treadmill or something like that, right? You can incorporate them into your life. And then there's some that it's time to just sit down and do some work. But I started going to the personal growth gym every day. And then I created a program called the Wealth Consciousness Boot Camp. And I have been on a 6:30 in the morning check-in call for 3 years and 1 month now. So however many days that is, nonstop. I missed 2 days in 3 years. One because my alarm clock broke, and one because I was up in the mountains, so I had somebody else cover the call. I've gone to the gym every single day. And this isn't an advertisement for my Wealth Consciousness Bootcamp. It's an advertisement for you to go to the gym. I don't care how you go. Just if you want your life to be different, make time to go to the gym. Because if you don't, it's not going to change. And if you do, it's guaranteed to change. It will change. So it's your choice. It's your life. It's your time. Are you worth it? And let me just wrap this up with a story about a few years back. I was invited to speak at the federal penitentiary here in Denver. And these inmates were completing a program called Time for Change. And I was the wrap-up speaker, graduation speaker, I guess is the title. Right? And the idea behind the program was, hey, these inmates got time, their sentence here, so they might as well do something with it, right? And there was money management courses and anger management courses and relationship skills and computer and GED and all kinds of stuff to better themselves, to make use of their time in prison, right? Hence, Time for Change. So as I was talking to these inmates about the kind of stuff we're talking about here right now, I had this aha moment. I'm like, you know what? Really, you're in my life isn't, we're in the same situation as these inmates. We've got some time on our sentence, on our life sentence here, and we've got choices of how we spend that time. And we can play cards or whatever until we die. We can tread water, maintain the status quo until we die, or we can choose to use that time to grow ourselves. And it's your choice. Now, there's very different trajectories from that choice, right? From treading water means things are going to stay the way they are. This is as good as it gets, to getting on the personal growth path, and then the sky's the limit. I'm curious, how good can it get? What's up from here look like? Because no matter how good it gets, there's always up from here. And to continue to explore that and see what that looks like for you. But that doesn't happen by accident. That happens for you making your own personal growth a priority. And have it be something you do daily, or if not daily, darn near on a daily basis. So again, this is part 1. The other video, How to Transform Your Limiting Beliefs, is on the same page here, the link to that. And that's the exercise equipment in the gym to use. This is the strategy of how and why it's important to do that. Any questions about this, feel free to give me a call, 303-552-7285. And thanks for spending some time with me.